Gentleman from Minnesota, Representative Hagedorn.
Gentleman from Minnesota is recognized.
I thank my friend from Texas, Representative Crenshaw, for yielding. And, Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support of the Protecting America's Food and Agriculture Act. And I think this bill is a great example of how the House can work together, particularly across committee lines here. We have Homeland Security and Agriculture folks working together, and then in the House and the Senate. And this is a critical piece of legislation in order to make sure we do everything possible to protect our food supply and our farmers and agribusinesses. I've been focused very intently on this whole African swine fever threat for many, many months. And when you look at it in China, it's ravaged their hog supply. Literally over 50% of the hogs in China have had to be slaughtered because of it. And that disease has moved to Thailand, Vietnam, the Philippines. It's in Poland, moving towards Germany and the European Union. And so it's an incredible threat, and it's caused a lot of destruction. In my district in southern Minnesota, I happen to represent some of the finest agricultural producers in all the world, including livestock producers and many in the pork production. Our district is number 2 in the whole country for pork production. And so when you look at what's going on with African swine fever, it's obviously both an opportunity and a challenge. The opportunity is that obviously there's going to be a need for our products, our pork supply, poultry, and other things, and our producers are going to have a chance to export around the world and perhaps even enhance and expand their operations. Of course, the challenge is what happens if that gets in the United States. If African swine fever enters the United States, it's not just going to hurt our pork producers, it's going to hurt our corn and soybean growers, the people that pack the meat, transport, all the people down the line to Main Street, and it's going to drive up the cost of prices for our consumers. We can't let that happen. That's why this bill is so important, to enhance the inspectors at these ports of entry, to make sure that the Beagle Brigades, as they're called, are upgraded. They do a terrific job of sniffing out the pork. And so with that, I completely support this legislation, and I would ask my colleagues to consider this thought in the future, to perhaps putting together a task force between the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Homeland Security to make sure that they're working in cooperation. Additional 15 seconds, please.
Mr. Speaker, I yield an additional 30 seconds to my friend from Minnesota.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Minnesota is
I
recognized.
think a task force would be great in order to make sure that these departments are coordinating and working together, and then we in the Congress can interact with them in better fashion. We have to do every last thing we can to protect our food production and our American agricultural producers from this and other infectious diseases. With that, I encourage everyone to support the bill, and I yield back.